Well, good evening and welcome to a special episode of Investigate Everything. We are about to be joined by my very good friend and probably I think Vigilant Fox put it the best, the greatest healer you might have never heard of. And that's Dr. Henry Ealy. We're going to be discussing everything you saw in the description. A lot of questions about a lot of the going ons at HHS, in particular, this new childhood vaccine schedule. But before we do that, let me give you my normal opening, except this time I'm going to steal some words from someone else, so I'll be reading to you. God has given us a gift. I promise to ask you the questions you are about to read in a gentle way. You agree to allow the answers to emerge organically within you. We agree to abide by 4 simple rules of wonderful conversation as we journey together in this observation car, told from a train. And you agree to embark inwardly on your journey into the warm discovery of you, and perhaps even into the renewal of your loving relationship with your Creator. A divine discovery that I hope will last you this lifetime and well into the great beyond. And if you're wondering, those 4 rules are to speak freely, no interruptions, no right or wrong, and be kind. These are the words of Dr. Henry Ealy from his new book, which just ended up in our laps. He sent my wife a copy, and it's called The Book of Questions. I happened to pick this up. It's called Embrace Your Heart's First Thought. I picked this up because Naomi reads in lightning fast speed, and she wrote one of the blurbs in this. But from here, it's one of these books. I don't read a lot unless it's like crime files and police files and PDFs. This seems to be the case lately. What I like about this is knowing Dr. Ealy. It's like he's sitting in a room talking to me, and he's a healer in many, many great respects. Not just discovering all that's wrong with some of the bureaucracies that try to poison us, either intentionally or unintentionally, but also he just kind of exudes a certain strength in everyone he meets. He's very inspirational. He is a public speaker. And let me read you his life, and then I'm going to bring him to the stage before I embarrass him too much. Affectionately known as Dr. H by his many students. Personally, I call him General Ealy from Ealy's Army. I'll let him explain that to you. For more than 25 years, Dr. Henry, aka Dr. Henry Ealy, has dedicated his life to organizing, perfecting, and teaching the medicine God intends for us all. Inspired by the horrendous state of health and medical education in America, Dr. H founded the Energetic Health Institute in 2013 to graduate exceptional healers dedicated to making tomorrow amazing. To graduate exceptional healers dedicated to making tomorrow amazing. Drawing upon tens of thousands of hours in education, research, and clinical experience, he has authored hundreds of life-healing copyrights for the energetic health healing system, with many more to come. Dr. H is co-founder of Healing for the Ages, that's A.G.E.S. health conferences. He holds a doctorate in naturopathic, Dr. Ealy, naturopathic medicine, a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and a board certification in holistic nutrition. He is a proud Jackie Robinson Scholarship alumnus, which I did not know that. And most importantly, a devoted father and friend of God. You may have seen Dr. H featured in acclaimed documentaries such as Disease in Reverse or Cancer Secrets, or during appearances on Brighteon TV, The Epic Times, Children's Health Defense, Dr. Mercola, USA Today, and of course, Daily Cloud. So without much further ado, I want to bring Dr. Ealy to the stage and welcome him back. It's been a long time, my friend.
It's been a long time, brother, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
And I'm glad I'm glad the book is touching you. You know, that means the world to me.
It really is. And I didn't even know you'd written a new book. So when I picked it up, I honestly picked it up just to catch up on your latest work, and I found myself at midnight last night pouring through the chapters. It's amazing, and I recommend it to everyone. We'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, for sure. Well.
So what's going on, man?
We're in some interesting times, you know. We're in some interesting times. We're in some times where, I think a lot of us, after the election was over, we wanted to put down our bayonets, you know what I mean? And
Of
just kind of be
course.
like, oh, finally, I can hang that back on the wall. I can go and, put a little bit of tobacco in the pipe and go sit on the rocking chair on the porch and
Hmm.
watch over the Ponderosa,
We
and
we
and
can't
just
we can't do that yet. But MAHA, MAGA, where I thought we're good. We're
oh
good to
my,
go, right?
it was a dream made in heaven until they started selling out. And I started seeing some chinks on the arm. I know there were some folks before me. I want to give credit
Mhm.
like where credit is due. I think Shannon Joy was on this. I think Dr. Jane Ruby was on this
Mhm.
very, very early. I think there were a couple people who were really like, and I thought personally, I thought they were a little premature. I thought, hey, let's
And when you say
give them a little chance.
on this in terms of like calling out everything that's wrong.
Calling out that we're being taken advantage of again.
Mhm.
That the promises that are made are not the promises that are being kept, and that these mRNA shots are going nowhere.
Mhm.
I think that was the big thing. Like when after the election was over, I was really clear with the transition team. I was really clear with the people behind the scenes of my expectations.
Right.
Ban the mRNA shots immediately on if no other reason. Don't even go into the VSafe data. Don't even go into the VAERS data and everything like that. Just on the grounds of fraudulent submission to the FDA. I mean, Pfizer and
Mhm.
Moderna lied. Brooke
Well, let's
Jackson
actually let
revealed
me
this.
if sorry to interrupt you, if we
Yeah.
could, um, really quickly. So I met Dr. Ealy in 2022, I believe.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and the reason I want to bring up some of your past work during the pandemic, fighting for truth, freedom, and justice. Um, my wife actually, Naomi Wolf, she said, "Hey, you've got to meet Dr. Ealy. I think he can use some of your investigative work." And I said,
Mhm.
"Okay, who's Dr. Ealy?" And honestly, I was a little worried. I was like, "Oh, great, another doctor. I really don't."
Another one, right?
And I was
Another
pleasant.
ego-driven moron out there, yeah.
So me and Dr. Ealy, we had a good bro moment over the camera, and I held up my Glock. I said, "Do you like guns?" And he says, "Yes, I do." And then I'm like, "I've got this." He's like, "A bigger one," and then a bigger one, and a bigger one, and finally I held up a Roman slingshot, and I said, "But do you have one of these?" So we hit it off right away. But if you could tell, because this talks to what you were just mentioning. Can
Sure.
you talk about the operation we were working on, what that was, and what it involved? Because I think it's important for people to know the difference. And I'm talking to the audience now, for people to know the difference between the Johnny come latelys, now that it's
Mm,
safe to be a truth warrior, and
right.
people like Dr. Reilly, who are in the trenches, or like my wife, Naomi Wolf, myself, even though I'm not a public figure, um, who were out there fighting for it because it was right,
Yeah.
despite all the risks. And you had some risks and you had some losses. So can you tell us about the operation and bring it right up to the present moment?
Yeah, I was very, very blessed and honored to lead an incredible team of Americans. Senator Dennis Linthicum, Senator Kim Thatcher, Attorney Steve Jonkis, Brian O'Shea, Keith Wilkins, John Bodwin, Judge Nally, Kelly Mordecai, and then we had and Albert Benavides. This was our core group, and then we had some additional folks that came in and helped us out a lot in various capacities. But one of the things that we had found out in 2020 was like if you so I did this at a wedding this weekend. So Brian, so maybe I got some good practice here.
Oh,
I,
good.
I asked people this: did you hear that the COVID data in the United States, death certificates, death count, cases, that these were fraudulent? Most people will say, yes, I've heard that, and I believe it to be true. Well, I will tell you that it is my team that was the team that unearthed that. We unearthed that in 2020 with the help of a lot of really good doctors, Michael McAvoy among them, uh, Paul, John Nowicki, and a few others. And what we did was we dove deep into the Federal Register. We dove deep into how data was collected. We dove deep into the Council of State and Territorial Epidemiologists and how the CDC adopted them. And their recommendations. And what we found, and culminated in a peer-reviewed paper that survived extensive peer review, it resulted in a paper that showed without a doubt that the data being published and compiled and published by the CMS, by the CDC, by the NVSS, by these governmental bodies was fraudulent, definitively easy to prove fraudulent. And this is how easy it is, Brian. In the Council of State and Territorial Epidemiologists, let me back up. So in March of 2020, there is a COVID alert number 2 that goes out, published by the NVSS, which is under the CDC. And it
And what
says
does the MVSS
the
stand for?
National Vital Statistics System. So
Okay.
what the NVSS is in charge of is saying, what constitutes a COVID death? Well, they said that it doesn't really matter in this document, that things are going to be COVID deaths no matter what, pretty much. And to make sure that that went through, they supported it with financial gain. If you just go along with this fraud, we'll give you more money than we would if the cause of death is the flu or something else. And that's why the flu disappeared, but COVID
That's right.
skyrocketed.
Yeah, for like the
Right.
6 months they stopped counting the flu in
They stopped.
2020.
You got it. So my team was a team that found that out. We were the ones that dove into it first. We were the ones that went through peer review and published it. And that paper ultimately was used by then not governor, but Senator Jensen, Scott Jensen, to exonerate himself from his medical board, which was going after him. It was used by Tom Renz to launch a number of actions. It was very, very successful. We had proven in the first year that this was fraudulent. We even got this information to President Trump at that time and warned him that if you don't do something about this, they are going to steal this next election, because they're going to tell everybody to stay home, and it's going to be all mail-in ballots, and it's going to be chaos. We warned him about that in August.
And
of
by they, you
2020.
mean all the bad guys, you know,
All the
Marxist
all the-
Democrats, the rhinos,
you know
yeah.
it, right? All the usual suspects, right?
And just so, if I could just sum that up for the audience that may not be that familiar with what was going on, you may recall that at that time, everything was a COVID death. You'd hear the, rumors that they would, debunk as conspiracy theories about, a guy getting decapitated in a motorcycle accident and the primary cause of death being COVID. And in some, they were actually, Dr. Ealy, didn't they actually kind of pre-populate the primary cause of death on death certificate instructions?
Yeah, they did some really illegal things.
And was that the CDC doing that?
It was the NVSS technically,
Right.
but yes, they're right under the CDC. So there isn't a big separation between those two. The CDC is the governing body of the NVSS in terms of our hierarchy in our government. But the reality of it was that we're being lied to and we are being defrauded. And this would fall under so many acts of treason in our country that you cannot do this. Well, the following year in 2021, we started working with Senator Linthicum, Senator Thatcher in the state of Oregon. They actually championed our cause because they were trying to get before a court too. But if you were involved with any court cases in 2020, 2021, 2022, legitimate court cases were getting thrown out left and right on lack of standing. Right. And this was true for even Senator Linthicum and Senator Thatcher, which is mind blowing that a elected official cannot bring a case before the court. Like that's mind blowing to me. So Senator Linthicum and Senator Thatcher sent our information to the Department of Justice and specifically to their attorney, the attorney for that district, the federal attorney for that district, Scott Asfog. And what came out of it was really shocking for us. We thought that would launch an investigation into what was going on. But instead, what happened was the Department of Justice, the Biden Department of Justice, decided to protect the people that we were accusing of impropriety, of criminal acts. And so just became this strange, weird world where you're like, are you kidding me? Like, what's happening that we've told you these people are committing felonies,
Hmm.
likely treason, and you're going to go and defend them? But this is the world we were in 2020, 2021, 2022. So we ended up putting together, with the help, Steve Jonkis did a great job with this. We put together the first grand jury petition filed in federal court. We filed it, I think it was on March, or excuse me, yeah, I think it was on March 6th or 8th or something like that in 22. And we expected to find one of two results. Either we were going to prove that justice was still possible in this country and it was just going to take some time,
Hmm.
or we were going to prove that the system is so corrupt that it is irreparable. And sadly, we proved the latter, that it's
Yeah.
irreparable, right? Because we went through a series we got kicked out of court a couple times, and we clawed our way back into court each time. And what ended up happening through the whole thing was that the judges, which were of course appointed by Obama, they protected the criminals. They protected the people that we were accusing of felonies and of potentially of treason. And all we were asking for is an investigation. We weren't saying to indict them or anything. We
Right.
were very
Yeah.
clear. Just investigate this and confirm, if nothing else, that we're wrong. Just do
Hmm.
that. But they
Yep.
knew they couldn't confirm that we weren't wrong. So they didn't want it anywhere near a grand jury. And
Hmm.
so that's what they did. They did everything they could to prevent it getting to a grand jury. Eventually, they were successful at doing that, because as you get into this system for justice, you start learning that it is a pay to play system. And
Mm.
if you are going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, you better have $500,000 waiting to be able
Really?
to
Where
deal with
does
that.
that money? I mean, besides lawyer fees, what else did you run
I,
into?
well, the big thing that blew my mind was I went to Dun and Bradstreet.
Hmm.
And I started looking up that the United States Supreme Court is actually listed as a corporation on Dun and Bradstreet. Now, it's
Okay.
supposed to be just a branch of the government, but it's listed as its own
Right.
independent corporation. And one of the Supreme Court justices is the head of that corporation. You can go check this out. You can all go look this up. It's on Dun and Bradstreet. Um,
Unbelievable.
but it starts blowing your mind. You realize how stacked the deck is against you, and you go, okay, well, I don't know if this is going to be our avenue, but I do know that we proved several things in the
Mm.
process. We proved that the data that was being published on case counts and fatalities in 2020 was exceedingly fraudulent. We proved in 2021, we came back with another peer reviewed paper, and we proved in 2021 that Pfizer clinical trials far exceeded the swine flu clinical trials in terms of safety tolerance. And we proved that they should have been shut down in phase one, like Brooke Jackson has been saying forever.
Hmm.
And we proved that there's something that still blows my mind to this day, that I haven't heard anybody else talk about in years. And it's really sad. When you look at the Pfizer clinical trials, Brian, there were over 6,000 people in those clinical trials that were removed from the final safety analysis, meaning they just vanished. That we don't know what happened to those 6,000 people. Now, that alone,
That's yeah. That's
that,
I think Naomi mentioned something about that. I don't know if she
mhm.
mentioned it was that many.
But it's, yeah,
Yeah.
it was over 6,200 and change
Jeez.
of people
Why
who
would they
were,
do that?
well, because
Uh,
they were died or severely injured, and they didn't want that to be a part of the final safety analysis, because then they couldn't even, the FDA, the Biden FDA wouldn't have been able to rubber stamp the
so
EUA approvals,
let me ask
right?
you a question.
Yeah.
On that one. So, is there no standard number of trials they have to have? Like, there's no like, hey, you have to have 5,000 trials so they can account for all of them. Is there nothing like that?
There is no industry-wide standard per product. What there is precedence. And precedence, the one we have that's most pressing is the swine flu vaccine. And when you look through the
Mm.
swine flu vaccine, there were only 50 deaths before they pretty much shut the program down. But a lot of people think that program shutdown happened at the federal level. That's not how it went down. It
Mhm.
went down at the state levels. The states started this. There were 9 states and then one municipality, Pittsburgh, that pulled out of support of federal support of that program. And then, of course, the writing was on the wall. And like 10 days later, the feds came out and said, we're suspending the program indefinitely. Right.
I'm amazed that was Pittsburgh that did that
Right.
because they've
Especially
become,
today.
yeah, I mean, they've become like a pit of hellish vipers over there.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when you understand the history of the swine flu, the dismantling of that
Mhm.
program, the program wasn't dismantled out of some sense of altruism or some safety concern.
Right.
That's not what it was. When you go read through the congressional reports on it and everything, because there were major congressional meetings happen. There were 2 major congressional meetings that happened on it. What the reason that got shut down is because the congressmen and women, this is 1976, remember, were wondering how much is this going to cost the American taxpayer, because that's going to show up in the next vote. That's going to show up the next time I'm running for reelection. So this is where Henry Waxman is heavily involved in the 1976 swine flu
I'm actually
epidemic,
furiously taking notes like I
right?
do every time I talk to you.
And now Henry Waxman becomes the sponsor for the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. All right. And of course, there was a lot of money that got funneled through the Nurses Association to Henry Waxman to support that bill. But what were they always about? In 1976, the vaccine manufacturers threatened to stop producing the vaccine unless they got certain promises for indemnification and protection from liability.
Mhm.
Why did they need it? Because they admitted point blank that vaccines are, and this is a quote, unavoidably unsafe.
Oh my God.
They know this. So that's why they said, if you want us to make this product, we need the protection of knowing we're not going to get sued. And so what happened in
So it goes
1976,
back that far.
oh, it goes back even further than that. But
Good
yes,
Lord.
that's a good example of it. There's no such thing as a safe vaccine, period. There's no such thing. But what they want to do is they want to make sure that they aren't sued into oblivion for issuing these products out. Well, how do you do that? 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, and specifically it's codified as 42 USC 300 AA, and it's -11 and -22 clauses. These are the 2 clauses that protect the vaccine makers from any liability on these shots. Now, let's fast forward a little bit more here. In order to get this protection of the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, in order to get this protection, the shots must be approved by the FDA and listed on the childhood schedule.
Okay.
All right. So now this is where we fast forward to this ridiculous nonsense that RFK Jr. and
That
Jay
being
and Marty,
the current vaccine childhood
right,
schedule.
right.
Okay.
So now
And
what
Dr.
happened?
Ealy, really quickly,
Yeah.
while you're talking, if you see me looking down, I'm not texting my
Oh, it's all
buddies.
good. I don't care if you are.
I self produce, so while we're talking, I'm like putting stuff on the screen and
Right.
everything like that. So
You're a one-man band, baby. I
I'm
get
a
it.
one man band. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is the first point of education for your audience, and this is a very important point. Let's give credit to Naomi, who's been doing a great job on this the last couple of days. Let's give credit to Sasha Latipova, who's been doing a great
Mm-hmm.
job on this for quite some time. And there's a whole bunch of folks on X that are really educating people properly. In order for these shots to be liable, for a vaccine manufacturer to be liable, the mRNA shot, the COVID shot, would have to be taken off the childhood schedule.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it's removed from the childhood schedule, it is immediately now just another medical product and not subject to the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm looking for, is when is it going to be removed from the childhood schedule?
Oh my
Because when
God.
it's removed from the childhood schedule, guess what's going to happen? Immediate vociferous lawsuits from Pfizer and Moderna are coming. and they're probably going to be backed by by Merck and GlaxoSmithKline.
What are those? So they're going to sue the government for taking them
They're
off the
they're going
schedule?
they will sue the government to prevent the government from taking it off the schedule. That's when you know this has gotten real. Okay, so when you have Secretary Kennedy and Jay and Marty out on X doing a stupid
Marty
choreographed video, Makari, however you pronounce his name,
right?
the
So we got the
FDA,
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 NIH,
NIH,
and
and
Secretary of
HHS.
HHS.
Right.
Yeah.
When you got those three in a coordinated X video, you know, that doesn't mean anything. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean anything until you actually remove the shots from the schedule, from the childhood schedule, because as soon as you do that, you remove the protections from the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And this industry is not going to let those protections go without a fight. So
Right.
that will wind up right in court, and then
So
everything will
so
hit the
they
wall.
will keep a dangerous vaccine. I'll just say it. I don't care if we get
Mhm,
banned. Don't you know? I don't care. I know
mhm,
you don't care.
mhm.
Um, they will keep poison
Yeah.
of the most malicious kind from, they will keep that in the market. They will keep that actually pretty much being forced into children.
Yes.
Because a lot of parents just won't have the wherewithal. I won't say spine, because unless you're a parent, a single parent, you have choices, sure, but it's like you don't know everything. A lot of
Mhm,
people don't even know what Rumble is.
mhm.
And you trust the white coats, present company excluded.
I'm
But
not a white coat.
I know you're not. But the thing is, for the sake of basically subscription, like massive income,
Mhm.
they'll kill hundreds of
Yes.
thousands, if not millions, of children to keep their bottom line good and please their shareholders and please their stakeholders at HHS.
Correct. That's exactly what's going on right now. So, what do we have that happened a couple weeks ago? A couple weeks ago, MAHA started to lose it, right? All the mama bears started to get pissed.
Yeah,
Everybody's like, why are we going after Fruit Loops? Why are we going after
exactly.
Skittles?
Sure.
Right? Why are we talking about beef tallow? We all know what the elephant in the room is. The elephant in the room are these damn shots. And if you want
Yeah.
to start anywhere, you start with mRNA. The data that got them approved, got the EUA installed, and then got them on the childhood schedule. And those are two different things that I'm going to explain to you and your audience
Mm-hmm.
today. The thing that got them on these schedules was fraudulent data. Right there, you have
Right.
every grounds to at least put them on moratorium until the Pfizer and
Yeah.
Moderna can resubmit accurate data. But now we know from Dr. Naomi's team's work, they're not going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have a huge challenge. So they're up against it right now. Now, the first thing that you want to understand is that childhood schedule. As long as these damn shots stay on the childhood schedule, they maintain their protection. That's the takeaway for that first thing. Okay. So Kennedy comes out yesterday and says, oh, well, healthy children don't have to get these shots. All right, hold on. Time out. There is no such thing as a healthy children's schedule.
Right.
You
Right.
just you just took the damn shots off of something that doesn't exist. He said we've removed the shots from the schedule for all healthy children. Uh dude, you're an attorney. You know that's not the way this works. The
Yeah,
only
exactly.
way
And that's a good point you make too,
yeah,
because every HHS secretary, it's an attorney position. So
it's
Xavier Becerra was one, the guy before him
mhm,
was one,
mhm.
RFK Jr. is one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, here, I'm going to send you
They
something
know
right
better.
now. Oh, look what they just did. Let's see if they I've been referring people to this one clause
And I'm
here.
sending your other links to my email so you could get them on the screen.
Yeah, here we go. Oh, look at that. It's all forbidden. Look at that.
You're joking, mate. Is it archived?
And yeah, well, I'll get it. I'll don't worry, I'll get it. So this
Send me
link
send me the link in the private chat
here's
here, and
yeah,
I'll
here's a
put it up.
link right here. This is a link to the ASPR, legal authority of the secretary of the HHS. Now, on my computer right now, it's showing that it's forbidden. It's a 403 forbidden when I go to it. On my phone, I've been able to get to it and share it. But
Looks
for the
like I got it. Hold on, I'm going to share
okay, so it
this.
might just might be my computer has been blacklisted
Well,
by
no, don't. I
them.
mean, it could be, yeah, because like Naomi was
Oh,
on
yeah,
Dr. Drew today, and they lost the whole feed.
I've been blacklisted, and we've had that happen too. So
Mm-hmm.
so what you're seeing right there is this is the legal authority of the secretary. And this is, if you scroll down through it, you'll see there's different situations on this page for the secretary. And this is just a fraction of the scope of his power that Secretary Kennedy has. So what I've been telling people since when they were all saying, well, you have to wait and you have to get Martin, Jay's got to get confirmed. Marty's got to get confirmed. You need to be patient. I was like, kids are dying. I don't need to be patient. You can go shove that up your ass.
Whoa,
All right.
dude.
Number one. All
This
right.
is awesome in the truest sense of the word, power.
Right.
I
This
mean,
is awesome power. And this power was created
wow.
prior to 2020 to set Xavier Becerra up to be able to do
Xavier
whatever he
Becerra, for everyone, that was the last HHS
right.
secretary.
So now Kennedy has this same power. Kennedy has this same power to step in and declare a pandemic of autism if he wants to, declare a pandemic of obesity if he wants to, and then invoke all of these enormous powers to be able to stroke of the pen. This is what I've been telling people for months. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Mary Bowden, who's now picking this up and saying the same
Mary
thing.
Bowden's great.
All right. Everybody's saying the same thing. Now we have to start saying the same things. This dude has stroke of the pen authority to change these things. Now, when he invokes that stroke of the pen authority, there will be legal challenges, but that's all right. We need to get this started. My advice to the transition team for Secretary Kennedy was come out of the box swinging, because we need you to get this into court while we still have a majority in Congress before the midterms. This was my whole advice to them. Start swinging the minute you come up and out of the gate. Don't wait for it. Well, we got to get people confirmed. All right, well, fine. Wait till Jay gets confirmed. Wait till Marty gets confirmed. Well, Brian, do you want to know what the first thing can I cuss on this show? Because I'm a little pissed
Cuss
right
away.
now.
Cuss away, man.
Do you want to know what the first thing these motherfuckers did?
What?
All right, I'm gonna get a little ghetto. The first thing they did after Jay and Marty got confirmed, this I was pissed off to the highest of pistivity. All right, with this shit. What these motherfuckers did on April 10th is they fast-tracked Arcturus 2304. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what's Arcturus 2304?
I'm gonna pull it up.
Arcturus 2304 is a self-amplifying mRNA platform that is for the bird flu. Their first major act of everybody getting confirmed.
The bird flu. Okay, now I'm pissed off because I was saying to Naomi, she's like, why would they keep pushing this vaccine? I said, or pushing the bird flu. I said, because they already made the vaccine.
That's right. That's what they've done. And let me say that again to everybody listening. Self-amplifying. That means it doesn't matter whether you get the shot or not. You are going to be exposed. This is the one. So if you scroll down a little bit through there, right, and look at the date on it. Look at the date on it at the top.
April 10th, 2025.
So April 10th. So Marty and Jay get confirmed on March 25th.
Yep.
All right. So this is just 2 weeks later. What's the first major act that they do? The first major act, once you have to wait, you got to be patient. We got to wait to get Marty and Jay in. Okay, well, they're in. The first thing wasn't we are going to take a battering ram to the mRNA platforms. The first thing is we're going to fast track a self-amplifying mRNA platform. I don't care what people say.
Explain
I care
to them
what they do.
Self-amplifying means.
Self-amplifying basically means that it's going to make so much copies of itself within your cell structure and within your microbiome that when you come in contact with somebody who has gotten this damn shot, you are going to get vaccinated. This is Bill Gates' wet dream going on right now.
Yeah, this is like drastic. Like this is seriously.
This is extinction level event shit we're talking
Remember
about right
when?
now.
So remember when? What's his name? Peter Daszak.
Hmm.
He had his plan, and it supposedly didn't get funded by DARPA, but his plan, and I've got the whole PDF. I
Hmm.
don't have it up, but I'll put it in the description. His plan was to vaccinate bats by spraying their caves, so when they bumped into each other, and it was
Hmm.
mRNA technology, they'd vaccinate each other.
Each other.
Now,
It's a
remember, I just want to. It sounds like it's because I've heard this before, and people used to make fun of us when we talk about vaccine shedding. I can tell you every time it was always that moment, it was always too late. We got some neighbors down the street, super nice people, but they're all
Mhm.
vaccinated. And they're like, hey, you want to come over for Christmas? We're like, sure, we're out here in the country. I go over there, sit down. Their grandfathers or their father's there. He's really old, nice guy. It's very hot in there. I was sitting down. As soon as I walked out of that house, it felt like I had a full blown flu. And
There
it
you go.
happens. And, it hits me as soon as I'm leaving, like, oh, damn, old dude probably got
Right.
vaccinated. And
Hmm.
and like clockwork, it would last for 6 hours of feeling like hell. And
Right.
this happens every time. So when people would mock us for saying vaccine shedding, of course it's going to shed everything. Well, look, in addition to many things, you're a health expert. Everything sheds that you put in your body.
Everything sheds. You can go to any of the vaccine inserts. They're going to tell you that they shed. They admit it in the vaccine insert.
Dude, water sheds, alcohol sheds, everything sheds.
It's just the way things work,
Yep.
everybody. So if you scroll down a little bit on this, let me show you where the secretary is implicated on this because it's on this page. This right there, right there. Scroll up just a little bit above that there, that last sentence right there. This project has been supported in whole with federal funds. That means your and my tax dollars from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Mm.
Right there.
And there's the contract number.
And there's the BARDA number on top of it, the Defense Department arm of the HHS, right there. It's all right there. They're telling you what's going on. This isn't the only self-amplifying Arcturus platform that's been fast-tracked. The Arcturus 154 has been fast-tracked as well. So what is my work this summer? My work this summer is I got to go study this damn platform and know how to
I'm with you. I'm
basically
with you, man.
defuse this bomb. This is ridiculous
Well,
that I have to do this. But
you
that's where
got
you see
my
that little
you got my help on that definitely because this is pissing me off. Once
this
I
is
see
this
look, anytime I see Barda on anything, forget about
right.
it.
Right.
Y-
It's
You
a
know.
wrap. So this
Really
is
quickly, Doctor. Really sorry to cut you
no,
off.
no, go ahead. You're good.
Um, our one thing that I always tell my audience is like you can never give up. Okay, you can never succumb to horribleness. And so I want to put some of the comments on, let you address them, because in addition to being a warrior, you're a charismatic leader. So here's some of the comments we're getting. These are all good people, a lot of regulars on the show. Robert says 100% with you. We love that. But then Cayman, who's been here before, we are all fucked.
No, we're not. No, we are definitely not fucked. We are not fucked until the last fuck has fucked. Okay, we are not fucked, Cayman. All
Mm-hmm.
right, and the thing we were going to do is we're going to make sure that we outlive these bastards. You see, this
Yep.
is just psychopathic hubris on full display right now. There's no empathy, there's no compassion, there's certainly no love involved in any of this. And what we have to do is understand our enemy, learn our enemy better than our enemy even knows themselves, so that we know where how to defuse these bombs.
Exactly.
I've been warning people for years about gene drive and Bill Gates investing in gene drive and what that is. Gene drive guarantees species extinction within 3 generations. You don't think they can put that into a plasmid and stuff that into an E. coli or a
Exactly.
yeast and everything? Please, this is ridiculous, right? But this is where you have to step into something greater than ourselves, much greater than ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the safety of our creator. Our creator didn't bring us this far to drop us off right here to these fucking lunatics. I'm gonna dial back some of the profanity. This stuff pisses me
I don't,
off.
dude. I don't care. That's why I do the show at 8 o'clock.
Right. Well, where I come from is this: it walks like a duck, talks like a duck. It's a duck. If you tell me that you have my best interests in heart, my MAHAing, right? And your first act is to go ahead and fast track a self-amplifying mRNA platform, something that we know is going to shed and shed vociferously all over the
Mm-hmm.
place, then your actions told me everything I need to do. You're full of shit. All right. So then I get called in, Brian. I get called in to support that measles outbreak and
Mm,
get RFK Jr. connected with the family and all that stuff, right? Because I had been checking in, well, what's going on down in Texas?
mm.
Well, of course, I get used by, Secretary Kennedy. I was supposed to be the person that got the medical records so that we could evaluate them, me, Dr. Artis, Dr. Group, Dr. Schmidt, and give them back like what happened, on everything. No, of course, that goes over to Pierre Corey, who is easily the worst candidate for
Really?
that kind of analysis. He's I mean, look, there are certain people in this movement that are about themselves and themselves alone.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't have that conversation when our lives are on the line, when are we going to have that conversation?
Tell us about Pierre Corey. You
The
know
only
what? I
thing
I saw him at CPAC, and that was it. I walked by. That was it.
Pierre Corey and I can't stand each other. Let me let that out. But we can't stand each other because I'm in this for the right reasons and he isn't. And I'll leave it at that for people. I don't want to get into Pierre Corey right now. I can't stand that guy. And I certainly can't stand anything that he is a part of, because I know there's no integrity in it. Now,
Gotcha.
as far as what he's done and what he's doing, whatever. All right, I can't deal with that anymore. We had all this stuff going on behind the scenes for years. All right, and I have the text, I have the anger text from Pierre Corey, and I have all this shit talking from Pierre Corey and everything to back it up. So Pierre, if you want to fucking get it on, let's get it on publicly. I'm not afraid of your ass, and I'm ready to go. But that is such a minor thing of what's
Mm-hmm.
going on right now.
Well, if I may, it's not minor, and in my opinion, and respectfully, and Robert's saying they want us all dead. I'll let you address that, but I'm going to address that too. One thing I was telling a good friend of mine that came and visited me just over the weekend, and his wife is a very well-known freedom fighter. I won't put out their name for their privacy, but they visited us, and this guy is actually a very heroic stay-at-home dad because she's in the legal profession, and they did the math, and they're like, well, we live in DC. If we pay for childcare and I keep working, I'm going to clear $2,000. So why don't I stay home, be a good dad? And he's really he dived right into it, man. He's got like a cool daddy backpack. Like that's key. Good diaper bag. If you're a dad and you're the primary parent, because
Mhm.
your spouse might be working, you gotta have like a tactical backpack. Can't get anything
Mhm.
with pink or Precious
No,
Moments or
no.
Aqua. It's got to look cool. Okay, and you got to do cool. And him and his son have matching. Um, what are they called? Jogging outfits, like the mafia guys wear.
Mhm.
I guess that's a big trend right now. And they got the matching jogging outfit. So, anyways, but we're driving. We went to go pick up some food, and yeah, he was saying, yeah, but honestly, it's like I do this, but really, how could I fight that? And I said, that's easy. You fight it one soldier at a time. And
Mhm.
I told him about Audie Murphy, who basically is, the legendary guy marksman who, protected himself against hundreds of Viet Cong by taking him out first guy, one at a time, well aimed shots. Watch your breathing, get organized, boom, 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 boom. And I'm saying that figuratively in the case of enemies that we have, and sometimes not figuratively. But what I am saying is what you can do, and Robert, they do, they don't actually, I don't think they want us all dead. I think they don't care.
Yeah.
I think some of them want us all dead. But honestly, at the business level, and I've rolled in these circles in Manhattan back before 2019 with Naomi, we were hanging out with Alec Baldwin at Equinox Gym, and it's like they don't think about you. They don't think about us. They don't care. And that is truly what evil is. It's when people turn their back on humanity. It's when they don't care, where they don't hate you, they're not angry at you, they don't love you, there is no you. Will you see what I mean, Dr. Ealy? Will
Oh,
you agree with
that's
that?
what it is. Why do you think they're moving ahead still? They've hit so many roadblocks over the last several years, but they keep moving forward.
Yeah,
Why? Because they don't care. We've given them no reason to respect us.
right.
Why would you? There's no consequence for you doing bad action. There's no consequence. What did Austin Fitts
Exactly.
say? They've
Exactly.
stolen $21 trillion and there's been no
There's been
accountability.
nothing. There's been
Right?
nothing. And it's just like, and look, it's just like the real estate scam, the big bubble, that
Right.
crashed the market,
Right.
which I literally dodged by the skin of my teeth. And I was in the intelligence community at the time. I almost went into a LIBOR loan, and it didn't feel right. I'm like, why are you lending me $700,000 if I'm making $100,000 a year? I'll never pay this off. And they're
Right.
like, oh, it's variable, and I'm like, no. And but no one, like one guy went to jail for the entire real estate bubble meltdown.
That's how it is. You go back to the Nuremberg trials, right? How many people actually died? What was it, like 9 or something like that? 20 something? I mean,
Yeah,
it was some negligible number of like, yeah, we'll give you something. We'll give you plebes something so that you feel like something happened, but we're not going to get to the real people.
So
We're not
Robert,
gonna- we're
in
not talking
answer
about-
to your statement, yes, they do want us dead. There's a lot you can do, and he's on board. Look at that. See,
Yeah.
you're leading my audience, man. I love
There
it.
you go. Yeah.
Fight, 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 never give up. Exactly. And this man right here has never given up. And if it makes you guys feel any better, I can honestly say that one of the greatest moments I had being part of Ealy's army. Okay, my job was to coordinate the team that served the subpoenas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny because someone I know, I'm not allowed to say their name, someone I know who's kind of in my family was graduating from a certain college at the same time Walensky's son was.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife said, she's like, you cannot serve her at my son's graduation. I'm like, justice, man. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. And
Right.
so, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and it was a big subpoena. So I'm like, okay. And I had it in a Xerox box in the trunk. I'm ready to rock. And then the team that we hired called. They're like, oh, yeah, we served her last Thursday. I'm like, okay, good. But I couldn't resist because we happened to be at, they call them dinner clubs or supper clubs. They don't have frats at Princeton. They have like supper clubs or something. They're like private and really nice, but, always a bit stuffy climate wise for me. But we're going through the hallway of this old building. And you remember Naomi's comments about Walensky in the LA thing. She's like literally almost saying she will kill her, Right. So as we're squeezing through this old, it's like a 1901 building. We're squeezing through this hallway and this line is coming towards the buffet. We have our plates. And there's that John Woo movie moment where I see Walensky. She's coming this way and I see Naomi. Walensky has her mask on. She moves like an anaconda. She's like, she's super tall. And I see Naomi and it's kind of like that moment where they freeze it and Naomi's like,
Right.
Walensky doesn't see her. And Naomi's like, and she contains herself because again, it's, her son's graduation. But, and I'm like, it's like, whoa, like that. So then they go that way and we sit down and everyone's acting pleasant and Naomi's looking at me and I'm like, mm-hmm. And we have a good enough relationship. We can communicate with just our eyes.
Right.
But I couldn't resist. So I go, you know what? I forgot to get some Chardonnay. I'll be right back. So I go over and I go back down that hallway and I see her and she's getting her little, ziti and whatever else they had there. And I go, oh, are you Dr. Walensky? And she's like, oh, yes, and I go, man, it's so good to see you here. Thank you, by the way, for everything, but especially thanks for accepting the subpoena my friends dropped off at your house last Thursday. That was freaking very gracious of you. It sucks when you have to chase them down. And she's like, her eyes go wide and she just leaves. And I go back and Naomi's like, you didn't say anything to her, did you? And I go, no, I did. I said, because I never lied to Naomi. I said, I thanked her for a lot of things. And she seemed so moved by it that she fled the building. Anyway, I never told you that story, so I'm glad I could share
I've
it
heard
now.
that. Oh, that is
Yes.
that is.
And Naomi's like, you didn't
Nana.
serve her the subpoena, did you? And I go, no, that got served last Thursday.
Yeah, that one got taken care of, but I did get a lick in. Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead. So fight, never give up. Dr. Ealy, I'll let you get back to what you were talking. It's important. I want you to see this comment here. I'm not picking on this person, but can you address this?
They wouldn't risk killing themselves. Never underestimate the predictability of stupidity. And that's what hubris is. Stupidity.
Do you think that's what it is? Like
I absolutely know that's what it is.
Okay. I knew that'd be your answer, so I totally agree with you. So
yeah. So let me say
let
this
me
to everybody.
let me give you one more. Hold on. It's my actual cousin Ernie, so I got to put him center stage. He actually came down and visited me here in the woods 3 weeks ago, and this is cousin Ernie. Cousin Ernie, meet my very good friend Dr. Henry Ealy. And I had not seen cousin Ernie since like 30 years ago. And he just pulled up, and all I had was a badminton racket too, so I couldn't really threaten him. I didn't know who he was, but yeah, he's my actual cousin from my dad's side. Great guy. So, and he's been with the show for 3 years now, so it's good to see him. Go ahead.
All right, what's up, cousin Ernie? So first thing, let's just recap, get everybody kind of like reoriented. Yep. First thing is, if there is a shot that's on the childhood schedule, the CDC childhood schedule, it is protected by the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. If there is a shot that has an EUA associated with it, emergency use authorization, it is protected by the PrEP Act. Both of these acts protect the vaccine maker from being sued when their products injure and kill people. All right, so we're all on the same page with that. What's so interesting about these damn COVID shots is they have both protections. And they're the only shots that I can think of that have both of these protections. And how did they do it? What they did was they said, if it's over 12, it's no longer in an EUA. It's no longer in an emergency use authorization. It's just on the childhood schedule. So that's where we have to look to Secretary Kennedy and say, if you're serious about what you say you're serious about, you will remove it from the childhood schedule. And don't tell me that you don't have the authority to do it. I've looked up the law on this. Yes, you do. You literally have stroke of the pen authority to remove this from the shot on the grounds of fraudulent submission to the FDA alone. Let alone the safety concerns that we are widely published. But just on that, it was submitted with fraudulent data alone gives you the right to stroke of a pen, remove it from the childhood schedule. That's number one. Never going to happen. Why? Because the second that happens, every single person that got those damn shots is going to flood in to their attorney's offices, and they're going to try to sue Pfizer and Moderna into oblivion where they belong. Okay, so that's why you're not going to see that.
Yep.
The second thing, the EUA. Now, we all agree COVID's over. Everybody's been saying it. So if COVID is over, why is there still an EUA associated with each of these damn shots and now the Nova shots?
Yeah, why is there? How does that even happen? Who makes that decision?
Right? Why is that going on? Because when you look at this, it's like, all right, well, this COVID thing was 2 years ago at its peak, really 4 years ago now at its peak from fraudulent data. But at its peak of fraudulent data was 4 years ago. There's the justification for an EUA. Why extend the EUA out this far? The only reason you extend the EUA out this far is to create another layer of protection for the 6 month to 11 years of age range. Those aren't technically approved by the FDA. Those are only authorized under the EUA.
Doesn't it make it easier politically, though, if the EUA remains in place, the emergency use authorization, Doesn't it make it easier for them to declare another pandemic? And
Absolutely, it
then the
does.
governors get to keep their extraordinary powers.
Go back to that ASPR thing. Let me show you a little section in there that should make everybody pee a little bit. All right. There's some messed up stuff going on in our government. There's some messed up stuff going on
This
that
one?
just keeps layering. Yeah. No, that's Arcturus. Go back to the aspr.hhs.gov one.
Let me get there. Hold on.
See, I have this real nasty habit. I read a lot. I go ask questions and then I go read, just like you do, Brian, with all the One Health stuff, where you're just like, "Whoa, wait, what is that?"
Yeah.
And
If
what is
we
that?
had time, I'd tell you why Casey Means is a big One Health fan.
Oh well, come on.
Like she's pushing it in every single ASPR. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the link you sent me here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Remind
Casey
them
mean
I'm a one
you
man
mean
band.
Casey Means isn't
Casey Means,
sugar,
for everyone
spice,
that
and
doesn't
everything
know,
nice?
and for everyone that doesn't know, that's a Surgeon General pick. I did not know who she was 3 weeks ago, and I got.
Did you see
I
my
kind
book
of.
review? Did you see my book
No,
review on her?
no, no.
Yeah. So one of the first things I did when I heard of Casey Means for the first time is I started calling around behind the scenes and going, "Who is this Casey Means? I've never heard of her. Did I miss something?" Because I've been around since 2020. If I missed, did I
Mm-hmm.
miss somebody? And they were like, "No, we've never heard of her." So I went and bought her book, Good Energy, and I can tell you she didn't write that book.
Oh yeah, we knew that.
Right? This is definitely a ghost
Certainly
written book.
wasn't her brother Callie that wrote it.
He definitely didn't write it. Okay, but if scroll down a little bit, let me show you something. Scroll down just to the categories right there. Let's look at these categories and let's read. No, up a little bit, up a little bit. Let's just read right there. No, down, down.
Let me
Where the
extend
little
screen. Hold on.
where the accordions are.
Here.
Right there. Yeah, those little accordions right
Okay.
there. Let's read what those say. Legal authority. Wait, no. Don't even go into it. You don't even need to go into the depth of it. Just read
Okay.
the title on it. Legal authority without declaration of a public health emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Secretary Kennedy, without even declaring a public health emergency, has major authority. Legal authority with the declaration of a public health emergency. Legal authority when the president declares a major disaster or an emergency. Emergency authority when the president. So there's two stipulations of when the president declares something. There is a stipulation for the HHS director to declare an emergency without the president. That's how much power he has. And there's even a provisions in there for when there is no declaration declared.
And
This
they're
dude,
vast. They're huge authorities too.
this guy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is the second most powerful man in the country right now. In terms of control of budget size, he's the only person in this country that has control of a $4+ trillion budget. That's more than the Department of Defense.
That's what I've been saying. Yep. Remember JJ Carroll, my
Yep.
my co-host, he was floored when I said that. I said, "Bro, HHS is the biggest first of all, it's the biggest government monopoly ever.
Period.
And they have control over everything in your life." While we're talking, I'm looking at a organization chart. I'll pull up the last one from 2024. It hasn't changed much, but everything, aging, gun control, violence, loneliness, everything. HHS has everything. It's
So now-
not just vaccines, it's everything.
Everything. So now, Brian, they come out and say that we're taking the recommendation off the Healthy Children's Schedule. First and foremost, there is no Healthy Children's Schedule. There's only a children's schedule. Secondly, who gets to determine what healthy is?
No.
You? I guess you do, because you have all of that legal authority. So when we're saying that Secretary Kennedy has the legal authority to remove these shots today, I'm telling you he had that legal authority the moment he was confirmed as well. And if you want to make Senator Cassidy, the boogeyman, or Susie Wiles or whoever, I don't care. If you want to make them the boogeyman, I'm going to just encourage you to point back to the man who promised you real change. Instead, for that Arcturus, let me give you an example about how we're being lied to, Brian. that Arcturus 2304 platform, the self-amplifying mRNA,
Mm-hmm.
I went and looked up the clinicaltrials.gov. Again, I have this really nasty habit of when
Of
people
reading.
say something, going and verifying what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
One
So
of the
you
things
investigate everything.
I investigate everything to we get to use the words, the phrase of this show. I do that. So check this out. They said this is what Secretary Kennedy said. We're going back to the gold standard, double blind placebo testing, and
Mm-hmm.
the placebo has to be inert, has to be saline, right? If they're really doing that and they're testing these mRNA platforms against saline, these will never get approved. It's impossible. There's just no way that there's going to be these are going to hurt a lot of people. The saline will not.
So
It's
can you
just how it
explain
works.
that just for laymen's like me when it comes to
Right.
medical stuff?
Right.
Saline, what are you talking
Okay.
about?
All right. So I want to know whether or not what's in this damn shot is going to hurt people. I have to compare it against something. The thing that I want to compare it against, or I think that I should compare it against, is salt water, saline. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I inject saline into somebody, that should do nothing, right? And that way I get a true comparison. Okay, if I do nothing, saline, this is what happens. Nobody gets hurt. If I do these shots, what happens? Oh, some people got hurt. Okay, it was only 2 or 3 out of 100. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
now I can have a percentage, understand like what's the likelihood somebody's going to get injured. But what they've been doing since the dawn of the vaccination program is instead of comparing it against a inert saline placebo, they compare it against another shot or all the other adjuvants and excipients that are in the shot except for the viral particle, right? They will compare against there. And that way, what it looks like is when you inject somebody with mercury and
Mm-hmm.
aluminum and formaldehyde in both the placebo and in the trial shot, you're going to see equal numbers of injuries.
Right.
So then when they look at that, they go, oh, well, yeah, everybody's getting injured, so it's safe. That's how it works. So with this Arcturus 2304, they said it's got to be tested against saline. All right. Once it gets tested against saline, folks, the answer should be it should never make it out of the clinical trial, period. It should never get
Sure.
FDA
Okay.
approved.
Got it.
But what are they testing against when you go and look up the Arcturus platform on 2304 on clinicaltrials.gov? They're testing it against the first generation bird flu shots. So they're doing exactly what they said they were not going to do. And this is where you have somebody saying one thing and you have what the actuality is being very different. You're being lied to. And that's I don't want to be the person bringing this to your
No,
attention.
you're
You think
right.
I want
You're
to be
right.
this guy?
You're right. You're right.
Right?
It's
This is garbage.
well. Here's another thing too. Like I saw like the gobbledygook, kind of a press release they put out about like, oh, there's still going to be, and I'm paraphrasing, but oh, there's still going to be COVID shots, but they're different mRNA. It's it's the J1 something.
It's the JN.1.
Right. So I looked at the language that they were using, that HHS was using, and whichever sub agency, FDA, I forgot which one. It's right off the WHO website
Right. It's right.
from
Well,
2024.
from 2024. It says it right in there when you go and read through it. So on last week on Thursday, the VRPAC met. Now VRPAC is a governmental body that decides on what the next formulation is going to be. So this is the one where they decided on the
Right.
JN.1 for the fall. And they have to decide on that now if they're going to be in production by the fall, right? The whole point is when kids go back to school for these shots, you want those shots to be available for the kids. So you better start producing them now so that they're available come August and
Mm-hmm.
September, right? That decision has to be made now. Well, that happened on May 22nd. That just happened last week. And so I wrote a letter to Secretary Kennedy urging him to find strength and courage at the 11th hour and to ban these shots.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, what did they do? They had this meeting on the 22nd, and they approved the next variant for the COVID shots so that they could go into production. Again, I don't care what people say. I care what they do. So far,
Exactly.
this is what I have you doing. I have you telling me to be patient because you needed to get some other people confirmed. That was all bullshit because I've read the law and I know what the legal authority of the secretary is. But I gave you that one. You need
Hmm.
some of your people in. Okay. Your people got in, and the very first thing you did was fast tracked a self amplifying mRNA platform
It's
that for
unbelievable.
the bird flu. All right. That's absurd. Then the next thing that you do is while that's going on and nobody's talking about it, you're celebrating going after Fruit Loops. You're celebrating
Exactly.
going after Snap,
Exactly. And
right?
glyphosate and all this,
And, and you're celebrating beef tallow instead of seed oils because that was the big reason everybody is unhealthy
Well,
in this
and,
country.
you know,
It's
Sasha Latapova and the people she did a video with recently. I love the acronym. I don't know if they came up with this, but they call the strategy under Kennedy ABV.
what's ABV?
Anything but vaccines. They will talk
Anything
about
but
anything but vaccines.
Mm.
And go, listen to Macri on Vince. So Vince is the guy that replaced Bongino. Seems like a good, host. You know, he's got the good radio voice and everything. Not as good as yours, but he had Macri on today, and it was ABV, is anything but vaccines, and that's what people need to listen for. It's like he kind of brushed over the vaccine question and went right into dyes, petroleum-based dyes, and
Mhm.
things that they're nice. I mean, they're good things to look at. They're not good for you, but we got a problem now, and this is the thing I run into when I get into discussions with some of my good friends who want to tell me about the Rothschilds and the New World Order and all. I'm like, look, I'm sure that's really dangerous and evil and horrible. I want to know who's coming to my door to stick a shot in my arm and how to stop it. And it seems like they've taken this strategy of addressing these big, broad brush type things that really won't have any impact for a long time, but not stopping the very thing that is probably causing autism, death, cancer, blindness, joint separation. They want to, and it's almost like I'll say it, I feel like they're almost shilling for the mRNA producers, and I'll tell you why. Because if you blame other things, if you blame diet, if you blame lack of exercise, Casey
Right.
means, then you don't have to blame the mRNA shot and you can still make money off of it.
That's exactly where you're at. You nailed it. I think the person who's doing a really great job on this, Ed Dowd, and he's been
Ed
doing it
Dowd's
for
great.
a very long time, is just
Yep.
showing like, hey, look, the numbers don't lie. I think he said that we're at over 300,000 deaths
Mm-hmm.
minimally
Yep.
caused by the damn shots.
Yeah, he
You
called the
know,
all-cause fatality had increased in the world in 2021, right after the
right,
shots came out, by
right.
44%. And the only thing that changed worldwide were the vaccines. And so people who don't know Ed Dowd, he is an expert in the insurance actuaries area, an investor. And the insurance industry, they get the death numbers long before anyone else does, because they
Mhm.
want to know where to shift their money and their coverage. And so he has these internal industry type of stats that show like, hey, these people are dying and we don't know why, but it's increased by 44%.
Right. And I'd also give a big shout out to John Bodwin, another person
Budwin's
that if
great.
you haven't
Yep.
followed his work, I mean, he the notion that we need more time to figure out what is
That's
going on
BS, man.
is absolute poppycock. All right. We know what is going on. You have to be a moron to not know what's going on at this point.
Well, this is going to be so. Let's jump, if you don't mind. Can I put
Yeah.
up the
Yeah.
childhood vaccine schedule? Because it honestly, like,
Yeah.
and I already, the first thing I did is I called my ex-wife, and we have a great relationship. And I said, don't forget the lawyer letter if you try to vaccinate this kid without my permission. I
right.
said,
Exactly.
got the lawyer letter and the Glock. You could choose. But no, I wouldn't do that. She's a nice lady. But and
Well, maybe to a doctor.
no, she got the shot, and that's I mean, this is kind of dark, but thank God she did, because I wasn't really sure, as anyone is with an ex, like, what is she going to try to do? So I instructed my son when he was 10. I said, if someone tries to give you that fucking shot, you call, he has a phone. I said, call 911 and don't say they're trying to give you the shot. Say you've been kidnapped. And say you've been kidnapped by white nationalists. And they will come racing to your location. And that will buy me enough time to get there and stop that shot. So he never, thank God, never got the shot. And most of his friends never did. But when this schedule is shocking, I mean, not just the COVID, I never realized how many. Let me just share it. Look at this. Walk us through this. This is disgusting. So this is updated recently, right?
This is just, this is updated annually. It was updated.
So everyone knows this is CDC. Okay, and I'll put the link in the description. Okay, so birth to 15 months.
This is just birth to 15 months. Let's do a little count for everybody what birth to 15 months is, starting at the top. Scroll up one more line just so we can get to that first one. Okay, so you see the RSV, right? So between birth and 6 months, you're going to get one, right? And then one dose in the 18 through 19 months. So that means before you're 2 years of age, you've gotten 2 so far of RSV. Hep B.
Isn't that a sexually transmitted disease?
3. Hep B is a sexually transmitted disease. Unless your kid is a night walker or using dirty needles, you don't need to worry about this. That's 5 shots right there. That's 5 vaccinations so far. Then you have rotavirus 1 and 2. So that's 7.
What is
then
rotavirus?
Rotavirus is just a respiratory thing. I mean, but this is here's what I want to get across to everybody on this. These shots do not give you immunity. It's your immune system that gives you immunity. All these are artificial infections at best. They are bioweapons at worst. That's all you're agreeing to. And if you want to validate what I'm saying, go and look up the vaccine media and excipient summary. Oh, you can't? Yeah, that's right. Because in November of 2024, they removed it. The CDC removed what the ingredients are and everything. Now you got to basically be Sherlock Holmes on the internet to go ahead and find out what's actually in these damn shots. Okay. Now, fortunately for me, I put together a course called Vaccine Education for Mama Bears at the Energetic Health Institute. And guess what I've been preserving for the last 20 plus years? That's right. Vaccine media and excipient summaries.
My man.
See what's in there.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. I
I
always tell everyone, I'm like, download that PDF. Don't just bookmark it.
Don't bookmark it. Download it. Keep it on your computer. Don't put it in the cloud. Put it on your computer. That's why you paid for that extra storage.
So investigate everything, detectives. You better have at least a stack of Western Digital hard drives, and you better have a stack of paper too, in case Microsoft can infect your hard drive once you plug it in.
You got it, right?
So let's keep going. Rotavirus. So now
we're at 7. We're at 7. Now we're at DTP, right? And now that's 11 shots, but now that's 4 different infecting agents at the same time. That's a quadrivalent. Excuse me. That's a trivalent. That's a trivalent shot. So now if you really want to have
trivalent, you mean that's 3 different things, right?
3 in 1. That is a terrible idea on just on design. So now this poor little baby, Brian, isn't even 24 months, isn't even 2 years.
This is 2 months. First dose, 2 months.
Right. And now they're at 11 shots and a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a grand total of 19 different exposures to artificial infections. Now, why does that piss me off? Before we even go another step forward, you have to ask yourself a question. At what age does a baby's immune system become competent to be able to remember these infections?
What age?
At the very earliest, 18 months, but for most kids, it's not until 24 months. And what that means is this is just a money grab, and your baby's life is what's being played as the roulette.
So they're just injecting them with something that can't possibly help them develop any sort of immunity.
Nothing.
They're just injecting basically an invoice into your child.
That's all they're doing. That's all this is. This is the biggest scam in the world. Ask Dr. Paul Thomas about this. Go and read Vax Facts.
Mm.
It'll blow your.
I
This is
have it.
just
Yeah.
evil. This is just straight
Jesus.
money grubbing evil. That's what this is.
Mm.
This is pharmakia at its truest sense of what pharmakia is. When you know, you can't unknow.
So all the
Yeah.
diseases, I just want to point this out, all the diseases caused by food dyes and all this other bullshit, these things can cause it.
All these cause it. Where does somebody start developing disease? Right here. You're injecting them with mercury. You're injecting them with nail polish remover. You're injecting them with aborted human fetal tissue. I mean, when you're injecting a child with these things, magically, there's going to be an adverse event. I mean, this is insanity what we are doing. Then you go to the Haemophilus influenza type B, right? Hib, right? And what do you see? 1, 2, 3, or 4. So let's say 3. Let's be kind and say 3. Now we're at 14 shots.
14
Pneumococcal, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're at 19 shots. Inactivated polio, we're at 1, 2, 3. So now we're at 22 shots. COVID-19, we're at 2 at this point. Okay. As soon as they cross that 6-month threshold, boom, you can start hitting them. So they'll be hit twice in the 24 months. Influenza, another 2. So where are we at? We're at 26 now. Then you go to MMR, and what do you see? 1, so 27. Varicella, 28. Hep A, 29, 30. Okay. Now scroll down a little bit more. Let's see. And then we have a few other options in there. So what we're showing you is, according to the CDC, we are at damn near 30 shots in a child before their immune system gains competency to be able to create a memory of that artificial infection. And you want to tell me that's not a money grab?
This is unbelievable. And this is just the first 15 months.
That's just the first 15
There's a
months.
whole nother chart for 18 months to 18 years.
You got it, right? Because you need boosters. Well, why do you need boosters? Because we gave you a shot when your immune system couldn't do anything about it. Well, why did you do that? Because we like money. And we don't give a damn about your kid.
Nope.
And so that's how it works. Now, you see that COVID is laid prominently on there. Wait a minute, Secretary Kennedy, I thought you said
right there
that healthy kids don't have to get this anymore.
And look at that. 1 or more doses of 2024 version 2020. And by the way, the 2025 version is the 2024 version. So basically the very thing he said he would be fighting against, there it is. You know what, man, the MAHA moms especially, there's going to be hell to pay.
Well,
this is worse. In my opinion, this is worse than Walensky. This is worse. At least we knew who they were. And look, I had my suspicions as well. But, the thing is, tell me you're evil. Tell me you're a money-grubbing loser. Tell me you're greedy. Okay, I'm not saying this about anyone in particular. Tell me who you are, and I will tell you who I am. But don't try to tell me you're someone else, because as an intelligence guy, as a private detective, as an investigator, I lie for a living, and I can spot a liar a million miles away. And I definitely spotted a liar then. I spot one now.
Yep. Listen. All you have to do, facts don't have feelings. Facts don't care whether you believe in them or not. Facts are just facts. If these shots had been removed from the childhood schedule, I'd be singing his praises right now. Because I'd say, okay, you finally figured it out. You got to get it on. It's going to turn into a court battle, but let's get it on.
But you know what? And it's easy. Like if he doesn't have the spine to have a court battle, moratorium. They can't sue you if it hasn't been removed.
Well, here's the other argument, because you have these the folks that I'm getting tired of, and I'm going to tell you all right now. All right, I'm getting tired of you. I'm getting tired of the pom-pom waving ostriches out there. If you are waving pom-poms at every little stupid thing that goes down, and you're not actually going in and investigating everything, you are part of the problem right now.
Absolutely.
So put the damn pom-poms down and go and pull up your search engine, DuckDuckGo it, whatever you want to do, and go and validate what he's saying. Well, the CDC just hasn't been updated yet. Do you understand that if he's doing what you think he's doing, that has been changed on the CDC site before they do the video?
And
that
here's
the
a
video
fun
is
fact
actually
for
the final step.
And for all the mentally lazy people who also wave, you tend to be the people that wave the pom-poms. Also the people that sat back on the recliner once, Trump got elected and said we don't have to do anything.
We don't have to do anything.
The thing is, there's a fun fact. Government websites print when they were updated at the top of the page.
Yes.
It's not a secret.
It's not a secret.
And by the way, Dr. Ealy, not for this conversation because it's too hard to explain. They just updated their One Health page too.
Oh crap! Right,
we'll have to do a whole nother episode on that.
We're gonna have to do a whole show on that and teach people about what Luciferianism is.
Oh, lots of it. Hey, we could go every week if audience would like that every week, Dr. Ealy, if he's game. And by the way, Dr. Ealy, I'll send you a link to my. Anytime I do a show, you hop on anytime you want, because what you're saying is so important, and you say it. And look, investigate Dr. Ealy, of course, do your due diligence.
Yes, absolutely.
But the thing is, I will tell you this: I did, and this man is the real deal. And he's a warrior and a trooper like me, like my wife, like the people we roll with, and he's not going to stop. And I'll tell you what, like I am so sickened by these are our friends. We know these people. We haven't heard of Kennedy. We know Kennedy. We've met Kennedy. We've had drinks with him. We say Happy St. Patrick's Day via text every St. Patrick's Day. We know Jay Bhattacharya. I don't know Macri, but we know everyone else. And I'm watching like Jay Bhattacharya, and I want your take on this.
Yes. Oh, it's so hard, man.
I see Jay Bhattacharya. He reminds me
I love Jay.
I love Jay too, and he his affect reminds me of those. Remember in Desert Storm when they took the first hostages?
Yep.
And they're holding up the sign saying, "These are the good people of Iraq. You should leave them alone." Right. Them being beat out. That's what he reminds me of when I see him making these announcements. I'm not letting him off the hook, but
No, you can't at this point because you took the job. You knew the job was going to be difficult beyond what you could have possibly imagined, but you took the job, right? Yep. So I had some people. I've had people, really defending not as many as were defending Kennedy a couple of weeks ago, but I've had some, and they come and they always say the same thing. Like, oh, baby steps. I got to celebrate every little victory. Blah, 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 blah. He's up against, things you couldn't possibly understand, blah, 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 all this other stuff.
He's got the biggest budget in the world, most powerful agency in the world. You can't have that excuse because look at Trump.
Right. Well, that's my point. I go back and we go back through the budget. We go back through ASPR, what the legal authority of the HHS secretary is. I'm like, let me educate you on this stuff. I can't believe that I have to educate you on this, but I'm going to educate you on this. And then I say like this: if this man is who we have known before he got confirmed, and he is really this hamstrung by whichever entities, Cali Means and whoever's Cali
Means is the brother of Casey, for those that don't know.
Like whatever handlers are limiting his effectiveness, then what you have to do is go big and get fired, or go big and then resign and tell people why you're resigning so that you beat people to the punch. Like, hey, I wanted this job. I got into this job, and this person and this person and this person and this person sold out to the cult of Asclepius, and this person and this person and this person are preventing me from protecting children, and I'm going to do more on the outside than I can do on the inside, because now I can show you firsthand through emails and text communications everything that actually is going on.
Yeah, or how about just wear an Olympus voice recorder?
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Just like for every freaking meeting. Every meeting.
You do it. And now look, I told people, some people were like, well, Dr. Ealy, why don't you become HHS secretary. I'm like, it would be the most interesting week in the history of this country. Let me tell you. All right. I wouldn't be alive by Friday, but it would be an incredible week. All right. It would be worth it
Yes.
for that.
You get, and I want to be in charge of, Native Americans, that whole
Right.
section, because I want to
Right.
cover not on the Native Americans, but I want to uncover all of the money that people hide underneath
Right.
those tribes.
Oh, it's all, I mean, let me tell you, it would be epic. All right. It would be absolutely epic. But I look at this and I want Americans to know, like, hey, this is where my heart is. My
Hmm.
heart is, I'm in it for our children and our grandchildren. I've had a good life. They haven't yet. And if we don't take action now, they aren't going to have a chance of having a good
No,
life, a free
they're not.
life. And so that's where I come into this. And when I see people doing good, I praise them. If Kennedy does something good, I want him to be successful. I'm gonna high five him. I've already said, I'm on record as saying, I want to give the biggest effing apology in the history of apologies to this man, that,
Yeah,
hey,
I saw
I
that.
you were way ahead of me, and oh my God, thank God you didn't listen to me and you got it done, and I forever am in your debt. And you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I would bend the knee to. But what we're talking about right now is the appearance of doing something good for America when you're really setting us up for a bigger catastrophe.
It's
And that's
yes.
and I've laid it out for you right now. And I'm going to tell you all to your audience right now, Brian. This is a fraction of my research.
Yep.
These are the key kind of overview, bird level view kind of notes on this
Oh
stuff.
no, I know your research.
All
Yes,
right.
I have volumes of it.
So what I'm looking at with people is, I'm like, listen, there are some folks out there right now that are misleading you into apathy, misleading you into feeling like you don't have to do anything. They got it. Misleading you into these ideas that they're going to somehow, a government for the first time in governmental history is going to make their land healthy again. That's never happened in the history of any government in the entire world. If you're going to be healthy, it's going to be because you have decided to be healthy, because you have decided to put in the work and learn what it takes to actually be healthy. And I'll tell you a little secret,
Hmm.
that's my most favorite job. This other stuff I can't stand, but I got to do it. My job is to help you be healthy, to help you make yourself healthy again. And so what Brian was holding up right there was my latest book, The Book of Questions.
This is
Uh,
a
you,
great book, man.
let me grab the website for you for that one,
Yeah, please,
because
thank you.
there's actually a free documentary that we shot that goes along with it. Um,
Well, and
and
when and Doctor, what I really like is, a long time ago, I picked up a book. I was getting very esoteric, and so I picked up a book about kahunas, or I forgot what it
yeah,
was called, and the whole kahuna practice, I guess, is
yeah,
religion.
yeah.
And you hail from that.
My lineage does trace through kahunas, Kahuna Lapa'aus, all right, which were natural healers on the
Hmm.
Hawaiian Islands. I was renamed on the Hawaiian Islands by a Kahuna Lapa'au. And the thing isn't necessarily what your genome is or even your blood. It's where your
Hmm.
heart is.
Hmm.
What are you doing this for? Like, there's a lot of folks out there that I can't stand, that are in it for themselves. The Malones of the world, they're in it
Uh,
for themselves. I can't stand these people, and I can't believe that we've allowed them to ascend to places of prominence in this movement. I mean, that's just infiltration at that point. Where I come from is, we can be upset with that, or we can just change course. And you can change course and go find the natural healers that are in this movement. And there's many of them. There's
mhm.
many of us floating around that know what we're doing, and our hearts are in the right place. Now, I don't know if I can call her a natural healer, but she certainly is a healer. Dr. Mary Bowden,
She's great.
right? She is a feisty, what you see is what you get kind of person.
Hmm.
There is no her on the take. There is no her thinking only about herself. She's in this for you, for your children. She's somebody that is worthy of support. And there's a lot of folks like her. I'd rather focus on those people that are doing the right thing. Suzanne Humphreys, she's been a voice for a long time, but they finally let her back out on X, and she's been doing such a great job on there. Dr. Sherry Tenpenny,
Mm-hmm.
great resource. I mean, incredibly brilliant resource for all things vaccine. And when you start getting into these networks of people, what you start finding, I love Richard Amerling, another great dude out there.
Yep.
Dr. Richard Urso, Dr. Stella Emanuel. There's so many good people out there that you make sure that you're putting your ear in their vocal vicinity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because what these people are going to tell you every single time is they're out there fighting for you, but they're also going to tell you point blank that they need you on the front lines too. They're not going to sugarcoat it and say, hey, I got this. Just give me some money and I'll go take care of this for you. Like, you're never going to hear that out of the four Healing for the Ages docs, me, Dr. Brian Artis, Dr. Ed Group, Dr. Janice Schmidt. You're never going to hear like, oh, we got this. You guys can go to bed now.
Right.
That kind of nonsense. It's going to be like, here, no, we're going to teach you what's going on.
You have
And
to.
we're going to teach you because we need you on the front lines with us, because this is an all hands on deck experience that's happening right now, right? So that's what I love about you, Brian. You're like, look, all right, we're good, we're charged. Let's go walk outside and see if there are any bears floating around, any
Oh, you
mangy
missed
bears,
that though.
right?
Yeah. But I mean,
So
that's how you have to be, because it's like, look, um, look, it's very tough because like Naomi and I, but she works hard in a different way than I do, but she's been busting her ass on this long
mhm,
before. Like, I mean, she got kicked off Twitter for life. She got sued. She's been
yep,
audited 3 times since
yep.
2020. It's just nonstop.
No
Do you know
accidents.
we got doxxed? We got is that what they
I
call it?
heard.
Swatted.
Yeah, I heard
I
a
heard
couple weeks
about it a
ago.
year after it happened. I was
Yeah,
down there talking to my neighbor, who's, he's the president of the local Hell's Angel motorcycle club for the
nice.
county, and he's a big guy, and he's like, "Hey, man, I heard you shot your wife," and I go, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, man," So I sit down with him and his fellow riders, and because we're all friends, and he's like, "Yeah, remember that barbecue we had about a year ago? Well, you and Naomi left, and then someone called the state troopers and said you shot your wife." And I was like, "What?" So they came guns a blazing down to this very rural area, uh,
Hmm.
and they basically blocked off the whole area. We're on our way to Salem. I'm like, and the only shots that were fired is I went in my backyard. I like to shoot 5 rounds a day of
Right.
one of my weapons. That's it. And I'm like, Naomi, wait here. And I, from the holster, boom, 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 boom. We get in the Prius and we leave. And the aqua green Prius that she bought for her daughter. And so, my hell war wagon. And so I hear about this a year later, and he's like, "Yeah, they had the motorcycle club guys down in handcuffs. They arrested they put lookouts up at the top of the road when they have a party.
Hmm.
Um, Parties are great." And so, yeah, it's like, no kidding. He's like, "Yeah, I thought I saw a ghost. I saw you guys walking the other day. I see Naomi." I'm like, "Didn't Brian shoot her?" And so, yeah, apparently we got swatted. But
Wow.
the point is, it's like, the people put all this work, and like Naomi's not doing it for, why Naomi got into this? Because my son was 9 when
Hmm.
this thing started.
Hmm.
And, she can only tell her own kids who are adults what to do, just like my daughter's an adult.
Right.
But she's like, if for anything else, I don't want my elderly mother getting this, your elderly mother, and certainly not your son.
Right.
And she was on it, and for that reason. And we were alone in the woods doing this when no one was calling her. And then
Right.
but it is hard, and this is where the audience comes in. What I like about my audience is they're very active. I put Autumn up on the screen there. She's literally in the field. She's been arrested 3 times investigating the Pfizer shit going on in her town, and she's active. And so I'm trying to really encourage more people to be like that. Eyes and ears everywhere, make it a slow go area for the bad guys. But that's what you got to do. You got to, and look, if you're doing something, let the world know. Okay. Because one thing is like, it's hard because anyone's like, is anyone even, do they even care what we're doing? I just want people to start helping themselves, that sort of thing. I'm like, yes, they are, it's just, you gotta, that's just keep going. And I explained to her, I said, it's kind of like when you're in war. Okay. You don't know why your little squad has to attack this particular hill, but you attack it, you secure it, and then you wait for orders. But there's a whole war going on. Okay. And Dr. Ealy's taken this hill. Dr. Wolf has taken this hill. Dr. Bowden's taken this hill. But collectively, we're winning the war. But we have to keep going. But you're right. I say to everyone, look around, especially you men. If you're a man who's been sitting on the couch and not doing something, you don't have to, you don't have to study the science. You can go run for local office. You could get the librarian position in your local community. You can hold up a sign. You know what? Hell, you could donate some sandwiches to the next event. It all helps. But if you haven't done anything and you want to be mad at the state of the world, be mad at yourself.
Yeah, that's real talk right there. The only point I would have with that, and I just am curious about what your perspective is what would lead you to believe that we're winning?
Well, I believe we're winning because we're still having this conversation. I believe we're winning because Donald Trump's back in office. He might not be perfect, but perfect is the enemy of good, as Voltaire said. And the thing is, we're winning because they tried to kill him 3 times. They're still trying to kill us. And that's a sure sign that we're winning. If we weren't winning, you wouldn't see so much upheaval. And look, right now they're going to make the bad guys are going to make the same mistake they did in COVID. And we knew we were winning then because they started rushing. They started going off their script, off their plan. What's going to happen now? It's my belief that HHS has always been the back door to this country and whatever administration's in for the WHO and ultimately the Chinese Communist Party, who largely controls the WTO, the WEF, and the WHO. The back door of this country has always been public health, and that's why they keep rolling with all these other things we've talked about. And that's why people have to stay so focused on this. Look, I get the flag wavers. They get mad at me because I started calling out. Yeah, I got interested in Cali means, not because you guys are talking about it. I got interested because a Politico article came out saying he threatened one of my sponsors.
Which he did.
And I'm like, all right, now I got to look into this guy. And the more I look into them, the more I'm like, and I said it on our show, we have a new show called In the Lair, me and Naomi do. But I said, look, I don't think Cali means is some evil overlord trying to subvert humankind and steal our souls. I think he is a opportunist, a grifter, who wants to grab Washington, D.C. by its ankles, hold it upside down, and shake out all its loose change. That's what I think he is.
I hope you're right about that. I mean, his dad.
Well, I hope I'm wrong.
Because his dad tells a different story.
Well, if I'm wrong and it's worse, that's bad. But even doing that, though, what that does is that creates a huge security. That's how people get in, is through the greedy. That's how people get recruited as spies. And this is something I know is greed. The way I would recruit assets is through greed. You become part of their personal finances. They get used to the money coming from you. You slap them around a little. You reduce it. They get greedy. They give you more stuff. And then you increase it. You reward them, and then you own them. It's so easy with the greedy. And that's what scares me about all these greedy people, whether they're greedy for fame or money. They're gettable. And I know this because that was my job, was recruiting assets for a long time. Anyways, I went off way on a tangent there, but you got the emotions kicking, man.
No, that's a very real conversation right there, because what do we see is always attracted to these huge budgets? Greed.
Mm-hmm.
people with greed in their hearts. And if you can't have greed and humanity in your heart at the same time, you can't have greed and compassion in your heart at the same time. There is going to be one that dominates, and the one that is
Mm.
usually dominant when there's a lot of money available is greed. That's one of my number one things I look for, Brian, in people, of whether or not I'm going to align myself with them and work with them. That's why I love you and Naomi, right? Because you have consistently shown that this isn't about making money. This is about
Oh,
doing what's right,
you
you
as
know,
well, man.
right?
You
And
as well.
and I can't say that about everybody, that, and especially some of the folks that have that upper shelf, reputation for some insane reason. And like, why do they have that upper shelf reputation? I'm going to just put it to people like this, because there's some folks out there that are very easy to spot. Let me show you how it's so easy to spot some of these folks. The first thing you want to do is find out how many different organizations has a person been with.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Folks that move around from organization to organization to organization are moving around because they are taking advantage of their little pit stops. And when that advantage runs out, they go and they look for another thing. These are parasites. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the behavior of a parasite. So the first thing I look at is, well, how long have you been with this organization? So like for me, I've been with the Energetic Health Institute since its inception. I'm its founder.
2013.
Right? So I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Right.
what it is. There's my base. We've built the Healing for the Ages over the last couple of years in collaboration with Dr. Artist, Nature Wins, and Ed Group, and Global Healing, and Jana's All Natural. So Dr. Jana Schmidt, we've built this collaboration because we got together and we decided that we wanted to be the standard bearers for what natural medicine actually is. I was so tired of looking at white coats with no knowledge of what natural medicine actually is, talking about it as if they were the experts. If you haven't helped someone heal using natural medicine, and that includes yourself, then you need to just shut the fuck up, quite frankly. All right. You are not qualified to talk about what we're doing. So that was the first thing, with it all. And I because you see the white coats doing the same thing that they do all the time. The thing that's the second thing I'd look for if somebody's moving around a lot is one. The next thing I look for is ego. Have you heard this person ever say that they don't know? I listen for that. There's no more important phrase that I listen to when people talk than them getting to a place where you've asked them a question, they don't know anything about it, and they tell you, no, I don't know enough about that to speak intelligently. I don't know about that. I don't know. Because that is a statement of integrity, right? It's saying,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know everything. What I know very well.
Yep.
What I know, I'm not going to back up off of.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I know every damn thing in the world. But you have these other folks that no matter what topic you put in front of them, they're going to pontificate as if they know everything about everything. Well, that's fucking impossible. So I know you're a fraud right there. And I wish you would just stop embarrassing yourself. You know what I mean? So when I look at these things, Brian,
So we got
out
two.
there
We
in the
got
world,
ego and org involvement. Do you have more?
greed,
This is good stuff, especially for this audience.
ego, org, and then the last thing I would say is posing for pictures. Is the last thing that I look for. The people that aren't serious about what we're doing are the ones constantly posing for pictures with other people. They want to be around people of name and repute, and they want you to see them on social media around people of name and repute.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Right?
You know, we call
Because
that, you know what Naomi called that when I first met her?
mm,
So you remember I met her, you know that story, right? Because she
yeah.
had death threats and she hired me to take
Mhm.
care of those death threats. Now, I had many celebrity clients. I'd actually never heard of Naomi Wolf, but, you know, we had Flo Rida one time as one of
Mhm.
our clients.
Mhm.
And you don't do that. You know, it's just not cool. It's just, you know, and the more you get to know like big names, the more you realize they're pretty lonely people. A lot of them just want a friend or someone to talk
Mhm.
to.
Mhm.
And so Naomi would call that, when people were always trying to edge into a picture, she would call that like star fucking.
Right.
So because like it's really dehumanizing, like for Naomi, for instance, you know, she's well enough known. She was long before COVID. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
since 1994. but she'll meet someone and they're super nice and she's like really happy. Hey, I'm a possible friend,
Mhm.
and especially for women, that's a really important thing. Like, oh, good, it's good to have a friend I can trust, because we all know that men can trust each other a lot quicker than women can. And
Right.
so, and I'm just stirring the pot there, but we know it's true.
It's
And
true.
but and then they'll say, hey, can I get a selfie? And it's done. It's over.
Right. Right. But like you're at a conference.
Hmm.
Somebody you've really admired for a long time, stuff like that. I get it, right? I get it.
Sure.
It's not my cup of tea, but if somebody asks me for one, I'm not gonna be a dick and
Sure,
tell
of
them
course.
no. You know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
it's
So
and that's okay. But
right,
you'll find a lot of those people that are like really kind of cool about it and everything. They just want it for them. They just
right.
this is a
That's
moment
the
I don't want
point.
to forget.
Right. It stays on my
Hmm.
phone. It doesn't go get released through social media. I'm not going out and showing you what I
Yep.
bought or what I ate
Hmm.
or what your philanthropy and support of my actions have allowed me to buy or something
Yeah, the
like that. I
picture
was like,
taking one's good.
right, so
It's a good
those are
one.
things those are the
Well,
things
there
I
were
look for.
the grifters, and I hate that word, but everyone's using it, so I'll use it. But the grifters that happened in the, I would say, late '90s into the 2000s were a lot of veterans. So there were a
Mhm.
lot of veterans trying to sell themselves as like Action Jackson and like Super Special
Mhm.
Forces Joe. There's a lot of people in the military who respect anyone's service at an honorable service, but not everyone is kicking down doors and taking
Right.
names. Some people are putting up the concertina wire like Jack Black in Mars Attacks.
Mhm.
Um, but the way they would do the picture thing is they would always, I could always tell a fraud when they're posed with some random kids with from the Middle East.
Right.
Look, they're not trying to say like, hey, I really respect these kids and that's why I'm taking this picture. They're trying to say, I'm proving to you that I was here in this shit.
Exactly, right? So you're what you're talking to me about is insecurity more than anything else,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what I see coming out of this HHS administration is a new stupid posing picture every single day. I'm like, how about you pose less? How about you do less interviews and actually get some shit done?
Isn't
You
it
know?
weird though, the difference between MAGA and MAHA? Like, I don't think the left understands, like the real left really understands there's a huge difference. And it seems, I'm going to say it. I mean, and this is not, no offense to the women out there, but Maha just seems a little bit bitchy.
Maha is the thought of the way they think things should be,
Sounds like the left.
and
Oh, wait,
instead of
aren't most of them
appreciating.
from the left?
Well, this is the problem. This was going to be the big issue unless you reconcile it. Was like, listen, like most of the folks that made up the stronghold of Maha were progressives. And so, all right,
Mm-hmm.
let's have this conversation. I didn't know we were going here, but let's have this conversation.
Why not?
Brian, ask me why I can't stand a progressive.
Why can't you stand a progressive?
Because they don't know their history.
Mm-hmm.
The history of the progressive movement is the history of the eugenics movement. Eugenicists just simply rebranded themselves as
Mm-hmm.
progressives so that they could bring
No
in
kidding.
legislation like Plessy versus Ferguson, separate
Right.
but equal. So they could bring in forced sterilization that ultimately would take over the nation and wouldn't be outlawed until 1981. The last forced sterilization
Mm.
was in the state of Oregon, the great liberal progressive state of Oregon, right? Who do you think Hitler imported to Germany to teach the Nazis about how to infiltrate government? Progressives. Who do
Yeah,
you think he was
really?
very fond
Wow.
of? Margaret Sanger, one of the most
Right.
notorious progressives.
Mm-hmm.
So what you get is you get these people out here who are very proud of being progressive without understanding what it means to
They don't know.
be progressive. If you are proud to be progressive, that means you are proud to be a eugenicist. And if you are proud to be a eugenicist, I got two letters for you, F and U, because that is the same nonsense garbage that made slavery and every atrocity known to mankind um, acceptable by society. you are being played if you have less than 8 figures in your bank account and you call yourself a progressive. You aren't in the club.
Totally being played.
And I can tell you at 8 figures, you are just the parking lot attendant for this club.
Yes, you
Okay,
are.
so you really aren't in that club yet either.
Mhm.
You just maybe have a chance if you sell your soul a little bit more. But for me, bruh, where I come from is I've had enough of. I've done a lot of work in the background. I've
Mhm.
done a lot of work, that wasn't supported. I'm still pissed that Secretary Kennedy did not support our grand jury initiative as he promised to
Yeah.
do. Right,
Yep.
but that told me that told me who he is. You didn't support it. I brought it to you first and you didn't support it. Well, what does that tell me? That tells me that you have no interest in justice and every interest in self-promotion. And how do I know? Look where you're at right now.
Well, and look at it this way too. It's like the difference, and I'm not pom-pomming for Donald Trump. I really like Donald Trump, but I will say this: the real key difference that I see between these two, besides their positions, is like a lot of people say, I can't be bought. I don't care. But like you said, it's the actions that speak louder than words. It's very clear being a billionaire and being shot at like 3 times and not being able to probably run again. Donald Trump actually, there's nothing they can take away from him that they haven't already done. Whereas obviously Kennedy, there's something they've got on him, in my opinion. I know Nicole Shanahan alluded to this on that Liz Wheeler interview. Liz Wheeler, who in my opinion is just a sock puppet for, the highest bidder. But the thing is, I heard the sigh. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking
Her
about.
and Malone
Man.
had the same exact script attacking Nicole Shanahan.
I know it was instantaneous, and I'm going to tell you there are some people that for all they have done are off limits, and Nicole is one of them. I've never met Nicole. I can't wait to finally meet Nicole, but I can tell you right now that's a mama bear right there, and she's
Oh.
off limits.
Oh, she's
Right?
totally off limits, and she's, from what I understand. So I know my wife speaks to her, but yeah, I've never spoken to her or met her, but from everything I've seen, she's she's the real deal. She seems like a good person. People
she's the
try to
real deal.
use, and I know we got to wrap it up soon. It's getting late, but it's so good to talk to someone who gets the whole landscape. But my thing is like, you mentioned the pom poms earlier. I am so sick of, like, I call them the binder bimbo crowd. These are the same type of people that held up the binders with the Epstein files. Liz
All
Wheeler
the
was one of them.
redacted pages in it,
And
like,
telling us how they're
impressed me.
Yeah, but it's like it's so sad to see that the so-called independent media has now become the legacy media they replaced.
Yep.
They're just shilling. And it's like, tell me what you really feel. Like, there's a lot of people that it's the same pattern repeating itself over and over. Naomi just took your book away from me. Do you want to say hi to Dr. Ealy?
Hi, Dr. Ealy. I want to take a selfie holding this amazing. Hi,
Oh,
Dr.
thank you.
Ealy. I was saying I want to.
We're live, just so you know.
Yes, that's fine. I want to take a selfie and post it on X holding this incredible book that I read at one sitting that everyone has to read. So profound, so moving, made me cry, gave me chills. The Book of Questions, everyone. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you, Naomi. That means everything coming from you. Thank you.
We call this At Home with Naomi and Brian and Dr. Ealy.
Dr. H shows up.
Dr. H in the house. That was really nice. Thanks, honey. That was great.
Thank you. Oh, it's so sweet. Yeah, it's that book was given to me by God to give to everyone. It's not about COVID. It's about learning a very important skill set, which is to listen to your heart's first thought, which is the voice of God coming into you, and having the courage to act upon it. We know that so many people have been traumatized over the last 5 years alone. And so what we did was we put this book together. I'm very privileged to be the author of it. There's a free documentary that goes along with it. You can go to Dr. Hanele, HENELE.com, and get the free
I got it up on the
documentary
screen
right there. And what's so cool about this whole thing is that this book, I didn't want to write another COVID book, Brian, like, God, we have enough of those, right? I wanted to write a book to help people process what they experienced through COVID and even before COVID came on the scene. Because if we got a chance at this, it's right now. And the chance that we have is to heal ourselves and become this best version of who and what we actually are, so that it becomes second nature to say no to the corruption. You know what I mean? It's becomes second nature to say, I'm going to protect children. I'm going to protect grandchildren. It becomes second nature to say, I don't care what evil brings to my doorstep. I'm going to fight you until you are no more. And that's where the Book of Questions comes in, to help you process the things that hold you back from being the version of yourself that you know you can be. And so, it's a little train ride with me through some very interesting scenes. I get to share 9 very impactful stories from my life. And I know something about when we share stories from our lives with each other, they spark recollections of other things within us. And now at the end of each chapter, I ask you questions to help you rapidly process through what any trauma that is still living within you. And it's an
amazing, but I've got to say, it might sound really shallow compared to that very deep thing you just said, but what I love the most is the recommended music to listen to for this chapter. That's awesome. Can you explain that? I told Naomi, I said, look, Santana for this chapter. I gotta find this.
When I think I think our lives have a soundtrack to it. There's a soundtrack to our lives. There's a music, a rhythm to it all. And so these songs that I chose for each chapter were songs that I felt that I either was very attached to when I was going through the thing that I was going through, that I share in the story, or it just felt right in the chapter. Like in chapter 5, when I'm talking about my mother's passing and how the cult of Asclepius killed her. I take you through Diana Krall's.
I love Diana Krall.
Oh man, and that album is out of this world. That one right there, When I Look Into Your Eyes. And so I wanted people to read the chapter, and then I wanted to be able to set the rhythm, the tone for the answering of the questions. And that's where the music comes in, that you get to hear some music and go, okay, it works with that chapter. And now you're in this perfect energy to be able to answer these questions authentically and from your heart. And what you're going to find out is every answer that you need to know. It's already in there. All I do is help you get to that answer quickly. And once you know the answer, once it finally is acknowledged, that you acknowledge it, the last part is actually the easy part, to act upon it. And so that's up to you. The only person who can do that is you. So what you're seeing right there, right below that picture right there, that was after I did my first talk on the book in Austin a couple weeks ago. And it was a really good talk. People received very, very well. And we had folks coming up and asking me for the signature and all that stuff. But what I do with these books is, when I get a chance to talk to people for a little bit, it tells me which chapter they need. And so we chat for a little bit, I write down, well, what chapter is it for you to read, and what you're going to get the most of. You can just hear it in people. So it's a beautiful
amazing
book.
I'm going to actually, seriously, I want to call you offline and find out which chapter I need, because I know I might need more than one. And I'm not being kitschy. I got a lot of issues, man.
You may, but yeah, a little conversation, and really it comes right up. I'm really suspecting that you're going to be, I actually know, I can hear it right now. You're chapter 6.
Which is, I'm only in chapter 5.
Yeah, that's my ex-wife's one. my ex-wife's
I'm
chapter.
scared to know now.
Let me go get a book.
No. Go ahead. In the meantime, I will grace him with a little Diana crawl. But in the meantime, guys, you definitely get the book. And follow Dr. Ealy and all his work. It's just amazing what he's doing. And you see, it's just about he's a true healer. He's like a healer badass. Okay. And by badass, I mean like in figurative sense, but also in a literal sense. There was a time where my wife was in Salem, Oregon, and she'd gone to get a martini while she's waiting for Dr. Ealy and the aforementioned senators we were working with. And and Naomi gets like pretty much muscled out of this place by this big guy proprietor because she wouldn't wear a mask and she wouldn't reveal her vaccine status. And as I understand it, Naomi's sitting there and she, to her credit, recorded it. But this is a big dude. He's like twice her size. And I couldn't be there because I was in Salem, Massachusetts at the time. So I'm just kind of having her stay on the line. But it was Dr. Ealy that rolled up and got in that dude's face, who must have been twice your size, and, shut him down and defended my wife, which I really appreciate. I was just saying that you're a badass healer.
He was in a lot of trouble. That guy was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And it became big trouble for him too after that. So, but the point is, like, I was just singing your praises, saying, you're like a healer and a badass. And I said badass figuratively and literally. And that's why I was telling that story.
Yeah. I think we get to a place, for those of us that have made this commitment, that whatever comes, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to die for what I believe in. And that's the only way you can do this work effectively.
I'm ready to die for her and my kids.
That's what I'm saying, right? You have your reason, right? But you get it, right? It's like, if these things are on the line, the decision has already been made.
Yeah, like people, they asked me today, they're like, why'd you go out? Because I think that bear, there's something wrong with it. You saw the video?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should have ran away. It looked kind of mangy and weird, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going out, and I said, get out of here, yelling, and it didn't go, and I go, oh shit, all right, going to get the shotgun, and it's not like I'm thinking I'm going to be a badass. I'm like, that sucker needs to die. Or at least be run off, because I'm not going to put her or the little kid that was here this weekend in danger.
Right.
And I'll protect them. And it's almost like it's the same feeling as like I've got to go start the car to thaw out the windows before I drive it in the middle of the winter.
Right. It's just matter of fact. This needs to happen, and that's what I'm here for. It's fun being a guy sometimes, It's just being a guy is pretty awesome sometimes.
It's pretty awesome.
Right? That's why I don't get beta males at all. I'm like,
bros, dudes. Yes,
right.
Totally.
What's wrong with you? But yours is
my chapter.
Your chapter is, you are not a trauma.
I'm not a trauma.
Yeah, that would be chapter 6.
I will read that, because I just got diagnosed with acute PTSD.
And that is a bananas chapter, let me tell you. Like, I can tell everybody listening for the book, like, literally everything in the book is true. Everything happened as it did. There's no embellishments. There's no, like, I'm trying to make myself look more gallant than I am or whatever like that. It's just like, no, this is what happened. The story is crazy in of itself. So I'm just
it's so painfully truthful in some cases, like painfully, the childhood and all that.
But what's cool though is to like have Naomi come in and be like, yeah, I went through the range of emotions. Like, there's a lot of laughter in it. There's a lot of tears. There's this, you're doing this emotionally so that the truth of what is still in you can come to the surface to be processed out. Right. The whole thing is, if this isn't about like getting involved in my life, this is about my life sparking recollections in yours, and so that you can heal. I mean, that's what this is all about, healers.
That's amazing, dude. And you know what? Look, the biggest screw up the bad guys made was letting people like all of us meet.
Yep.
And that's like, because the friendships that I've made, the
Mhm.
brotherhoods and sisterhoods, I'd even say that I made during COVID they outlasted some family relationships. They
Oh yeah.
outlasted the people that always said they loved you, but when it came down to the tough times, you know what? Their words were just words. And so I thank you for the friendship you've had. It's been wonderful.
Hey man, it's a two-way
Mhm.
street, and that's that you can feel, and
Mhm.
that's why it's so important for us and what we did today to teach people how to see past people's words, right? If Kennedy is really serious about what he's saying he's serious about, his actions will show it, and it will be undeniable.
Absolutely.
And I hope that he is.
I'm reaching for something that Naomi bought me that I'm looking at your tiger picture. She was in India and she had the inspiration to buy me a tiger in a frame. So
Let's see
great
it.
minds, right? Yeah. I can't find it. We had to
Oh,
clean up in a hurry for a party. And I think
well,
it's over there out of reach. I'll post it on
yeah.
I'll send you a copy.
Send me a picture of it. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
all
definitely. Definitely. Well,
but
Dr. Ealy, we're coming to our time, but you've got the
yeah.
mic.
I just want to say thank you for having me on. Thank you to everybody who's been listening, and hopefully this has been educational. Hopefully you understand like where somebody like me is coming from. Like it's not enough for Secretary Kennedy to say healthy kids and healthy expecting moms don't have to get the shot. That's meaningless. There's no
Mhm.
list for vaccination for healthy kids or for really for expecting moms. There's some guidance in there, but not much. The
Right.
reality of the situation is that if we are going to get these mRNA shots removed, it's going to take bold, decisive action from Secretary Kennedy, and it might cost him his job. It could truthfully cost him his life. But I'm going to tell you from
Mhm.
Brian, myself, Naomi, everybody that you value listening to, we're ready to make that sacrifice. And that's the same thing we expect in our leaders. If you aren't prepared to make that sacrifice, don't take the job
Right.
because the job is that important right now. So that's where I stand on it. I'm not going to give him any any excuses. I'm not going to give him any clear quarter. I'm going to demand of him what I would demand of myself in that role. And that is to have the courage to do what is inconvenient and may cost you dearly because it's the right thing to do.
Amen, brother. Well, on that note, I'm not even going to do an outro. You just did for me, but it's been so nice to have you on. It's been way too long. We got to do it again. And your name has been popping around my circles over here on the East Coast a lot lately, and it's all good. And
Amen.
so when I saw you were looking at the meanses and I was too, I was like, dude, we've got to get back on. It's been too long. JJ Carroll, my former host, loved that was his favorite episode when you were on there. Like,
It was a
and
good one.
I'll have to play that clip sometime because JJ's a super awesome guy. Very, but he's also very kind of innocent in a way. You know what I mean? Like he's been fighting the good fight on the border in a uniform. And so, but I'll never forget when you said, "Do you know that it's federally illegal to be a coward?" And JJ's like,
It is. It's illegal. It is absolutely illegal to
yeah.
know that there are crimes being committed and to say nothing about them. It's actually illegal. It's actually codified in our laws.
Well, look, I hope our audience got what both I and JJ and everyone that meets you gets, and that's like JJ's reaction after you left the stage that night. He's like, "Brian, what an amazing person. This changes everything." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's awesome, man." And so he's like, "I'm not a coward, am I?" I'm like, "No, you're not a coward, dude.
You're not a coward. It was not JJ. Just so you know, that was not directed.
You
at
were
you
wrestling.
At all.
You were wrestling like 15 like illegal aliens at once on the border alone.
Right.
You're good.
You're good.
But the point is, it's like what I get out of it is the energy you put out comes from the fact that there's so much about you that's selfless that everyone gets to enjoy it. You are basically, like heart energy shedding, if I may. So, and we appreciate you, and we'll hope you come back soon. And Come back anytime, and let's keep in touch. We got a lot of stuff I think that we're gonna have to start working on together again.
I gotta hear about this One Health stuff that you did. I mean, I think it's gonna intersect with these Arcturus platforms.
Yep.
And I have to talk with Kevin McKernan at some point, because I'm very concerned about. We know the SV40 is a problem, but I'm very concerned about how they might be able to embed gene drive in the plasmids, and that's a game over kind of scenario for us.
And I had Brianna Sogdill interviewed Naomi and I today, and she's with the Beef Initiative. She used to work with Daily Cloud, and we got into like the food security and everything like that, and it's all connected. That's the thing. There's not One Health and food security. There's not One Health. It's all. And by the way, do you know all One Health is? And I'll say this to everyone before I explain it. Go back and read about Mao's communes.
About what?
Mao's communes. It's the same thing. One Health is just, communism dressed up in something else. It's the Cultural Revolution dressed up as furry animals.
Have you been following the chemtrails and what's coming out in the sky fallout and everything?
You know who my wife is.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Just want to be clear. I don't want to make an assumption. So we've all heard that it's aluminum and barium,
right,
as the predominant two nanometals that they're using, right? Do you know why they're using aluminum?
Transmission.
Two very important things. Aluminum is, number one, going to get into the soil and stunt root growth. So it's going to kill crops so that they can say this is climate change. This is fossil fuel climate change. Okay, so go and watch Interstellar if you want to understand where that end game is.
Yes, many times. I'm going to watch it again.
Okay, so that's their whole premise of why McConaughey needs to go out. They've poisoned the soil with aluminum. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when it gets into the plant or it gets into the human body, it has an adsorbance, meaning it sponges up 5G and 6G radio frequencies.
Oh my God.
So it's the major step of creating what is called the Internet of Biological Things.
So, oh my God. Everyone's a repeater and everyone's accessible.
Everything is, and the reason they have to spray so much so frequently is because the body does do a beautiful job of getting rid of it. And what we've been studying and testing and showing in our things, I just did something with Mike Adams a couple weeks ago on this, is I show that, okay, we know how to get this out of the human body. You get this out of the human body through sweat, through infrared sauna and sweating.
Right.
So we know how to get this stuff out. I'm exploring a few additional techniques to enhance that right now, but we got some stuff coming out this fall on all of this for everybody. It's going to be pretty exciting.
We have an infrared sauna.
And tell you
for this reason,
when you see a chemtrail, that your next day you are in that infrared sauna.
We see them every day. It starts out clear.
Yep.
By lunch, it's just, Naomi's been pounding this into me. I'm like, well, maybe it's just a lot of planes and everything. But it turns out like she's kind of correct a lot, most of the time. And and here's the thing, Memorial Day, federal holiday, beautiful, clear, fluffy clouds, the way we remembered. Tuesday, Shitsville again. Today, horrible. And I feel bad when it's cloudy. I don't feel good.
Right. I just got a spectrometer, so I'm doing some readings on chemtrail days to see what the actual color spectra are coming off of these now. Because it's definitely, and we all feel it. You feel bad when these are all over. Well, why? Because there's a lot of heavy metals in the atmosphere, and you are breathing those heavy metals in, and that's just a fact. So we have a lot of work to do, and that starts by us holding people accountable who said that they were going to protect us. And that's where I go to Secretary Kennedy. He's like, listen, man, you could have banned the shots on day one. You could have banned glyphosate and atrazine on day one. You didn't need, we have so many things we have to tackle. Beef tallow wasn't the problem, right? Fruit Loops wasn't the problem. I can not eat Fruit Loops. You know what I mean? The problem is these damn shots and everything that's being sprayed. We're basically in an
Everything.
extermination cycle, and we gotta put an end to that. So, and everybody's like, well, Florida, they banned, it's a felony now to spray chemtrails. Yeah, that's why there were 17 days of chemtrails.
Florida can't wait. No, Florida can't ban that. Look, one thing I know from my drone days is because I use drones for investigations. So the way it works with the FAA is the state only has jurisdiction up to the tallest tree or the tallest man-made structure. Above that, it's federal territory. They could do anything they want up there.
You got it. You nailed it right there. And that's where it's like, this, again, the appearance of doing something to appease the minions while you know this is actually doing nothing. And that's, to me, more disastrous than just trying to kill us.
I'm going to rewatch Interstellar. I've seen it. Like, by the way, every Chris Nolan one is just, he's on to something, man. Tenet is one of my favorites as well. With the reversed physics, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. But you know, the point is, yes, no. But go back and watch. You know who nailed DC? You know who nailed it?
Who?
Eddie Murphy, The Distinguished Gentleman.
Oh, The Distinguished Gentleman was great.
And you know, isn't it funny how it's actually pretty hard to find streaming? Because they're like, you know, we're going to, you know, the cancer girl comes in, and you know, they have the Chuck Schumer like character, and Eddie Murphy, for everyone that hasn't seen it, he kind of just had the name, was it Jefferson Johnson?
Yeah, Jefferson or something like that. Yeah,
he had the same name as the incumbent, pretty much, Thomas Jefferson Johnson, and he just the incumbent dies, so he runs on his name, and people don't pay attention, so they vote him in. But when the Schumer character comes in, Johnson is like, Eddie Murphy's doing this thing with the cancer, and he really cares. Like he's a thief and everything, but he starts getting a heart and a soul. And the Schumer character kind of crashes his media party with the cancer girl, and he's like, we're going to hold committee meetings. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And he's like, message, we care. And then he tells Eddie Murphy afterwards, no, we're not going to do anything. That's, you know, that's because then this will happen. This will happen. These people lose jobs, these lobbyists. It's a great movie for anyone. Everyone kind of understands DC, but this one really kind of put it in a nice 2-hour block.
It did. Yeah. It's a definitely a good primer.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Dr. Ealy, we should call it a night. But let's talk. We got to talk more. We got a lot to talk about on and offline, you know. So I try not to call you too often because you always are running somewhere. But by the way, you have to come out to the East Coast. We have a whole house for you. We have a gun range. It's called My Backyard. We have a mobile target range. It's called a possibly rabies infected bear in my backyard as of today. Okay. Did you see that sucker glare at me?
Yeah, I did.
I was like, get out of here. And then it looks at me and I go, oh shit. All right, I'm getting the gun.
I'm going inside.
But no, we'd love to have you out anytime. And I know there's going to be a big get together coming this summer. We want you there. And I'll even bring a couple of my audience to it, the ones I know, you know, but we have good get-togethers and you would love them, and you are always welcome here. You know that.
Hey, man, I've been saying for years I'm going to get out there, so let's make sure it happens very, very soon.
Anytime.
I'm going
you tell me your schedule.
July, sometime in August, maybe, or actually, you know, in September might work because I'm going to the East Coast in September for a wedding. So I might be able to
That's a
go
good
up
time.
north for a little bit and then come down
That's
to
a good
south
time to come.
from there. Yeah. So
Beautiful weather here then.
it'll work out. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and it'll work out. But thanks for having me tonight for sure. And
well, everyone get Dr. Ealy's book. It's, you just heard it, you know, impromptu Naomi right out of the, you know, the in the lounge where pushing the book of questions, but it is great. And you like me, I just picked it up just to kind of brush up on what you're working on. I was like enthralled by it. Get the book, support Dr. Ealy's work by getting the book, and don't forget to check out the Energetic Health Institute. I'll put it all in the description. This is the guy we call when we have problems, you know, like he really is. But Dr. Ealy, I can't say enough about you, so I'll stop. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it, and I will forward any questions from the audience to you. And thanks for what you do, man. You're an inspiration, and I'd follow you anywhere.
Amen, brother. Same thing. All right. I appreciate everybody that's listening, and just thank you for all the praise. It's more than I can handle tonight, so I'm gonna get off and go blush and take a shit.
I was going to do the same thing. You read my mind.
There we
All
go,
right, man.
guys.
All right.
brother.
Well, look,
Talk to you
everyone have a great night. I'm going to end it here, and thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Peace.